Children, today I will be continue about the living world chapter. So yesterday we discussed about Aristotle. What is it? Aristotle, and he told about the what he called the first history of animals. He wrote, no, you know that one, history of animals. What is that book in Latin? How can we call in Latin? Historia. What he called? Historia Animalium. Historia Animalium in the Latin. So his classification based upon how he classified the animals based upon locomotion. Then what he classified based upon walking. Locomotion means walking and flying, aerial. Next, the absence or presence of RBC. Yesterday, up to here we discussed, right? Anemia and anemia. But here some limitations are there. For his limitations are there. What are the limitations? You know very well. First thing is the birds. Birds, insects, both are there. These birds will fly, insects also will fly, but we can't consider both are same. They will be different. These will be different. In the birds, flightless birds are there. What are the flightless birds? You know very well. Some birds will be there like ostrich, emu. Okay, ostrich and emu. They want penguin also. Penguin. They won't fly, but these are also what you call birds. So these are the limitations. Now come to another limitation. Take example, amphibians. What Aristotle said, habitat depend upon habitat also. So here tadpole larva. Tadpole larva is a larva of the frog, and adult one is adult after metamorphosis. Adult will be formed. The tadpole larva live in the water. Adult live on the land. So where should I have to keep this? Either these are related to water or these are related to land. So like that, some limitations are there about Aristotle's classification. So, but anyhow, this classification, Aristotle classification, followed 2000 years up to what he called 1700. Up to 1700, the what he called they followed. Later, his student, his continuity after his student, very very important. His student name is Theophrastus. Theophrastus in 372 to 287 BC. Regard Theophrastus 372 to 287 BC. He continued research about his classification, why the limitations are coming like that. He continued the research. Then, especially Theophrastus done the research about the plants. Later, the Theophrastus is considered as a father of botany. So there is a huge gap. After huge gap is there. So they believed that huge gap. Later, in the 16th century, one of the great scientists, you know very well, English naturalist. 16th century English naturalist His name is, what's his name is? John Ray. John Ray. So his duration is 1627 to 1705. 1627 to 705. So wrote several important works through his life. So many things this John Ray helped for classification. So he published in 1682. He published one book. His book name is Methodus. Very very important. Methodus Plantarum. Methodus Plantarum Nova. Methodus Plantarum Nova, which contained, you believe or not, which contained 18,000 plants information. 18,000 plants and species information. So, but so many members, there will be some disturbances created. So some other taxonomers opposed, but even he did good work in the classification. So later one more great scientist. Who is that great scientist? Swedish scientist, Swedish biologist. Who are those? Who is that person? Who is that person? Swedish biologist. His name is Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus, very great scientist. In the year 1707 to 1788 is duration. So he is the father of who? The Swedish biologist Carolus Linnaeus is the father of modern, recalled modern classification, or otherwise modern taxonomy. So what we are going to discuss, the Aristotle, you know very well, he done the classification based upon the locomotion and walking, flying and habitat. He wrote one book about animals that is called, History of Animals. In the Latin, what he called Historia Animalium. So, in the presence of RBC, the animals are divided. Anemic animals are anemic animals. Absence means anemic like that. But the Aristotle classification have some limitations. What are the limitations of Aristotle? Question will come. So that time you should have to say, take example of birds and insects. Birds also have the feathers, insects also have feathers. Birds and insects we can't consider same because so many variations are there, so many changes are there. Even in the birds also, flightful birds means some birds will be flying, some cannot fly, flightless birds. So like ostrich, emu and penguin. So he did not give the clarity about this kind of classification. And one more limitation you see, amphibians are there. Tadpole, larva of the frog or amphibians will be live in the water, and adult after metamorphosis, adult will become to the land. Then which place, whether they are related to the water or land, we should have to know the clarity also, who Aristotle did not give. Later 2000 years up to 1700, so this Aristotle, what you call classification, only followed. Later of that, Theophrastus, the student of Aristotle, Theophrastus, 372 287 BC, he done the research about Aristotle classification system, and also he worked more about the plants and he given the more and more information about the plants. So we will discuss in the botany related issue. That's why the Theophrastus will be considered as a father of botany. Later, a huge gap. So after the Theophrastus, huge gap. Then come to the later 16th century. An English naturalist. His name is John Ray. Who is that person? John Ray. His duration is 1627 to 1705. He also worked about the classification. He introduced the first word. What is that? John Ray introduced the first, term species. He worked with so many concepts of classification, and he introduced in the 1682 one book. The book name is Methodus Plantarum Nova. Please, this is a neat bit. What is the neat bit? Methodus Plantarum Nova, which contains 18,000, which contain information about 18,000 plant species. But this John Ray classification classification processes mainly combined characters. He used different combined characters for classification. Combined characters in the sense what is there, what is not there, is there or not, how it will be, how not will be, such kind of variations between the different things called combined characters. So based upon combined characters, John Ray classified. But so many that time in that particular 16th century, so many members of the scientists opposed John Ray classification. Later, the great scientist, Swedish, he is from Sweden, biologist, biologist in the sense, Carolus Linnaeus, very very important, this is a neat bit. Swedish biologist Carolus Linnaeus, in the 1707 and 1788 duration, he is the father of modern taxonomy. He developed the complete, very well, classification process. His process only till today we are believing, we are following. So we are continuing concept of that. So Carolus Linnaeus, after so many things, the Carolus Linnaeus developed the modern taxonomy. Who? Carolus Linnaeus. Who is the scientist name? Linnaeus. Okay, Linnaeus, scientist name, please remember. He developed the modern taxonomy and also founder of modern systematics. Remember these two things. Okay. Next one, he developed scientific and modern systemics. Next, he developed the binomial, very very important, binomial nomenclature. What is this name? Every living organism have two names. One is genus, another one is species. One is genus, another one is species. Names are there. So based upon later so much development, so increase in knowledge in the people, in the scientists, then increase in knowledge in the scientists. Then after the Linnaeus, means Aristotle to Linnaeus, one process. Okay. Next, from after the Linnaeus, the increased knowledge increased about the classification. Especially they classified based upon morphology, complete details, because electron microscope, simple microscope, like that they invented. So that's why, because completely they studied about each and every organism's morphology and what he called embryology, anatomy. What is morphology? External features, study about anatomy, internal systems, and another one is embryology, study about embryos. So these all they discussed, they studied well and developed the taxonomy. Developed the, which one? Taxonomy. So next, very well, one more thinking. What is that one more thing? Numerical taxonomy. What is the numerical taxonomy? Based upon number. Suppose how many leaves are there, how many seeds are there, how many stamens are there, how many what you called, like this, different based upon these characters, and based upon the internal, how many chambers, 2 chamber heart or 4 chamber, 3 chamber heart or 4 chamber, or like that number. Based upon the number also they divided the number of leaves, number of seeds, number of stamens, like that. Based upon number also they divided and classified the organisms. That kind of taxonomy is called numerical, what you called, taxonomy. Numerical taxonomy. Later, very well developed, what you called, the evolutionary, very important, evolutionary and genetic, okay, relationships. What are these two words? Evolutionary means, very well, how the evolution, okay, from small, Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, Gymnosperms, Angiosperms. How this evolution. And genetic, what is DNA, what is RNA, what is genes in between them, what kind of relationship between the similarities are there in the animals. Based upon this evolutionary and genetic relationships also, they developed one more classification, that is called phylogenetic. What do you call? Phylogenetic classification, or what do you call? Phylogenetic classification, or cladistics. They developed one more phylogenetic classification, what do you call? Cladistics, based upon evolutionary and genetic relationships. So Ernest Haeckel, who is that one? Ernest, very important. Ernest Haeckel, the great scientist, introduced the evolutionary relationships. He given about information about evolutionary, record, relationships. Who? Ernest Haeckel. Then he developed the one tree-like diagrams. The tree-like diagrams means which will give complete information about the complete evolutionary relationship between the different organisms. So the tree-like diagram he created, that is also called, what you call, cladogram. What you call? Cladogram. For example, this is the cladogram. See now, like this, if you divide, you will see some variations. For example, vertebrates. Okay, vertebrates means how many are there? Vertebrates: fishes, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, okay, aves, okay, mammals. Now each one, every invertebrate have a special characters. So bony skeleton, these all bony skeleton, all have bony skeleton. That's a common fishes, amphibians. Okay, the next one, four limbs. From reptiles onwards, what is there? Four limbs are there. Okay, next one, very well, eggs are there. Amniotic eggs is there or not? Amniotic eggs are there in the reptiles, aves, and mammals. So then hair will be there in the mammals. Then after, who are those primates? Means what? A complete one have up to here some characters, up to here some characters, up to here, means these all are interrelationship between these all the things. These are fishes, amphibians, reptiles, aves, and mammals and primates. Every one have the interrelationship, but some characters will stopping up to certain species. So this kind of information is giving, in the sense, those kind of pictures. What do you call those kind of pictures are called? What do you call? Cladograms. What do you call that is? Cladograms. This cladogram, another name is what? What is another name of cladogram? Phylogenetic. phylogenetic tree. Phylogenetic tree. For example, you see fishes have bones, amphibians have bones, reptiles, everything is every vertebrate have bone. Up to here similar. But what is the speciality of reptiles and amphibians? Four limbs are there. Aves also have four limbs. Mammals, you know very well, four limbs after two what you call do mammals and aves. They have eggs. Their eggs contains the amniotic liquid. Even mammals eggs also. And hair up to here, hair up to here, feathers up to here. So what you call scouts. Okay, such kind of structures are there. Each and every vertebrate have a special character. So that kind of information is we are getting by the help of which one? Cladogram or phylogenetic tree. Later, so depending on system of classification, next classification depend upon system of classification, and there are the organisms are divided into kingdoms. Depend upon the system of classification, organisms are divided into in the form of kingdoms. Okay, so there are, what are the three how many kingdoms? You know kingdoms, three kingdom concept, four kingdom concept, five kingdom concept, like that, six kingdom concept. Okay, seven kingdom also is there, up to seven kingdoms also there in the classification. Based upon this all, considering these all the things, then some more improve. I said no, knowledge improved or not, then they developed which one? Kingdom concept, for clarifying all the doubts and clear picture about the organisms. They introduced kingdom concept. So what we discussed, Linnaeus is a modern taxonomy introduced by Linnaeus, founder of modern systematics. And Linnaeus developed the binomial nomenclature. Bi means what? Two names. And increased the knowledge because of this all. After some days increased knowledge, then the scientists developed based upon classification, based upon morphology, anatomy, embryology, like that they developed the taxonomy. And also based upon number also they developed the scientists, remaining scientists after Linnaeus developed numerical taxonomy based upon numbers. Then evolutionary relation, genetic relationships. Evolution means what? The Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, Gymnosperms, Angiosperms, like that. DNA and RNA genes, complete evolutionary genetic relationships. They developed one more classification, scientist, phylogenetic classification or cladistics. So first the scientist Ernest Haeckel developed the evolutionary relationships and introduced the one tree diagram, that is called cladogram, about evolutionary relationships, like this vertebrates, fishes, amphibians, reptiles, aves and mammals, and their characters and their relationships easily we can study. And that kind of pictures are called cladograms or phylogenetic tree. Then later the classification developed little more based upon classification processes. They started the kingdoms level classification, three kingdom, four kingdom, five kingdom, six kingdom, and seven kingdom classification they started. So next we are going to discuss about kingdom concepts. What you call kingdom concepts. This is also one of the important in this chapter. Kingdom concept. R.H. Whittaker. R.H. Whittaker, 1969, proposed the kingdom classification. What is that? You know, five kingdom classification. Five kingdom classification. Okay. Then, what are the five kingdoms? First one is Monera. Second one is Protista. Third one is, you know very well, fungi. Fourth one, Plantae. And fifth one, what is called Animalia. Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plante, Animalia. So, how based upon what? Based upon what they divided these all kingdoms? Based upon cell structure, either eukaryote or prokaryote, and based upon which one? Mode of nutrition, and mode of reproduction, and mode of reproduction, and phylogenetic, very important, phylogenetic relationships, based upon phylogenetic relationships, based upon these all the characters, they divided the kingdoms. And also molecular level, also they studied. And molecular level means whenever the molecule word will come, you should remember these two. Okay, molecular level and DNA RNA identification. Based upon this also they started what is called the kingdom classification. Later, based upon these molecular techniques and everything, after these kingdoms, one more concept is there. What is that one more concept? What is called three domain concept. The three domain concept mainly based upon this RNA and DNA techniques. Okay, molecular level techniques and biochemical assays. Based upon what? Molecular level tests and biochemical, very important, biochemical assays. Based upon these two, they started three domain classification. What you call classification. So who developed this three domain classification? Carl Woese. The scientist name is Carl Woese in 1977. Okay, and his co-workers. Not only Carl Woese and his co-workers. So based upon mainly RNA level, DNA level, biochemical assays, especially this one you should remember, this is a neat bit, 16S rRNA and genes, 16S rRNA genes. Okay, the three domain system, developed the domain system. Domain is, what is that one? Domain is higher than kingdom. Domain is higher than kingdom. Okay, kingdom, this one you should have to remember. There are, how many kingdoms are there? Okay, so there are, Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plant, Animal, like that. Then how many domains? There are three domains. Number one, three domains. Number one, first one here I am writing domain archaea. Domain archaea. Second one, domain archaea after domain prokaryote bacteria. Domain bacteria. Second one. Third one, domain eukarya. So how many? Three domains. What are the three domains? One is archaea domain, bacteria domain, and domain eukarya. So like this. What are we discussed in this? R.H. Whitaker in 1969 developed the five kingdom concept. The five kingdoms are what? Monera, Protista, Fungi, Planta, Animalia. Based upon what? Cell structure, mode of nutrition, mode of reproduction, and phylogenetic relationships. Later, based upon molecular level and biochemical assays, they developed the three domain identification. They identified the three domain concept or three domain classification. This three domain classification first introduced by who is a scientist? Carl Woese and his co-workers in the year 1977. So Based upon what? Especially 16S rRNA. So many 70S, 80S rRNA. You know very well. 30S, 40S like that. 60S, 40S like that. Different types are there in the prokaryote. 60S, 40S, 50S, 30S like that. Types are there. So here no need is all. Based upon especially what is that? The 16S rRNA they discovered about this molecular level. Now domain concept. The domain is higher than the kingdom. Generally in the hierarchy, what is that? On the day I said hierarchy: species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, kingdom. Now domain. So domain is greater than kingdom. So there are three domains are there according to the Carl Lewis. What are those? Archaea and bacteria domain and domain eukarya. So next class, the complete information about what is archaea domain, what is bacteria domain, what is eukarya domain. I will give the clarity. And you given syllabus. So according to that syllabus, I will inquire about that one, and after getting confirmation, I will start according to that syllabus. First, let it this complete the chapter perfectly. Okay. Thank you, students.